To ensure a safe and comfortable passage along Loch Hourn and out across Barrisdale Bay, we need to capture slack tide at our push-off point at Kinlochhourn. But with separate and time-consuming canoe pickups from Edinburgh and Perth, our mission objective looks to be in some jeopardy.
Some KKK white supremacist cooking up a dose of race hate. I tell you now, I don't need no country, I don't fly no flag, I got no slack for the Union Jack. Stars, stripes, I got me jet black, yeah. I don't need no country, I don't fly no flag.
Well, it's a bit breezy at the mid of light. We've reached our launch point, but it's later than planned. And with our progress from here on, an unknown quantity, there is a hint of nerviness in the banter. Modest, isn't it?
And that includes stuff that we are taking for the quality.
I'll give you a stove then. Do you mind if I...
We can take it!
Take 20.
Once in the water, the basic techniques and coordination take a while to master. Steve and Jim set out the way they mean to go on, with a slalom style which seems guaranteed to familiarise themselves with both sides of the loch.
Oi, me hearties!
I tell you what, it's cracking though, isn't it? With our delay in getting waterborne, the narrow section of the loch at Cowless Moor is a potential hazard, with the tidal flow of water forcing through the shallow bottleneck and creating awkward currents. There are a few gentle vortexes, but we pass through without difficulty and paddle onwards out across Barrisdale Bay and towards our planned camp spot on the far shore. Evening light is fading along Loch Hourn, but the mountains of Skye are now clearly etched out to the west and beyond the mainland, and a lovely late June sunset quickly becomes a spectacular one.
Do I hold that a minute while I step out? Okay. Yeah. Well, I need to step out. Well, you need to get the out. Yeah.
So here's our campsite, John Muir Land this is, but beautiful little spot, some flattened grass right at the side of the water with a river running down. It's a clear night on our wilderness strand, and the collective momentum of the occasion takes us through the chilly hours, gathered round a largely underachieving campfire, which struggles to overcome wood rendered damp from weeks of rain. This is a webcam shot across the Sound of Sleat to the entrance of Loch Hourn taken from Sky at 4:33. Somewhere over there, we are still partying and awaiting the full arrival of morning. We watch the first rays of dawn as they graze the higher slopes above us. They begin to leak through a gap in the opposite ridge, funneling down a gully to fill the air above the quiet water of Loch Hourn. In our impatience to catch the sun's warmth, we stride up to the nearest knoll and capture our shadows cast on the wet grass. Finally, the full blast of morning reaches the tents and our campsite explodes with light. Having seen the day in, we grab a few hours sleep before setting off to tackle Larven, the highest mountain in Knoydart and one of the finest ridge walks in Scotland. But already the warm, bright conditions of the morning are beginning to break. A weather front is visibly approaching from the south, and the first silvery veils of cloud begin to close the landscape in. But as we approach the summit, it's about to get a whole lot worse, and Steve, armed with his mobile phone, is there to capture the sound and the fury. Turn back down to camp after an afternoon of being hammered by the elements. The mess tent provides a welcome sanctuary from the rain, but we don't linger long after supper. It's a glorious Sunday morning in Knoydart, and with an early night under the belt, the boys are in good form. But after such a restrained Saturday night, there are large supplies of Boddingtons still to be drunk. A task that we set about with grim resignation. It's a perfect weather window for the canoe back out. The water is soft and glossy, and the boats seem to glide across Barrisdale Bay, which lies passive and tranquil at the slack point of low tide. Meanwhile, Jim and Steve have cracked their Canadian canoe propulsion technique, and the remainder of the paddle upstream breaks out into the occasional spontaneous race, with a rest midway and a further assault on the bodies. By the time we've got ourselves back to Kinloch Hourn, the weather window is closing quickly behind us. The squalls escalate into set-in rain West Coast style, but our own deliverance is complete.